Hello everyone, I'm Selim Engin, a PhD student in computer science working with Professor Volkan Işler. Today, I'll present our work on wildlife monitoring and tracking. First, I would like to talk about why we are interested in the problem of tracking animals. Understanding animal behavior is a fundamental knowledge in conservation biology, hence there is significant interest in tracking the animals for managing the environment and protecting the animals. However, directly observing the animals in their natural habitats is challenging due to various reasons, such as dense forests, as shown in this figure. In the first project we studied, our problem was localizing a colored animal using a group of robots equipped with radio signal receivers. Two primary methods for localizing the animals are GPS GSM units and VHF or very high frequency radio signals. GPS units are usually much more accurate than radio signals for locating the color. However, they require more power, which leads to frequent interference with wildlife to replace the batteries. Additionally, they are usually heavier compared to VHF radio signal transmitters, therefore, their usage is limited, especially for smaller species. These factors motivate us to develop algorithms to localize the colored animals using very high frequency radio signals. Specifically, our objective is to localize a colored animal with a group of aerial vehicles receiving radio signals. Using aerial vehicles such as drones or UAVs has several advantages over using ground vehicles. For instance, with drones, we are able to deploy our system on a wider variety of environments and cover longer distances in short periods of time. Our system includes a team of 3 UAVs, each equipped with a 3-element TAG antenna for receiving radio signals, and additional processing units. A color that transmits VHF radio signals worn by a bear is shown on the lower left side. In our experiments, we deployed our system to localize a moving human target whose average speed was about 0.5 meters per second. We were able to report an error of 7.5 meters in an area of size 100 by 100 feet per meter square. Given a candidate area for the target to be localized, our approach was to pre-compute measurement locations for each aerial vehicle covering the candidate area. Then, using the gathered measurement data, we can triangulate and localize the colored target. On the right, you see our system in operation for one of these missions. We were then interested in the problem, what happens if we need to actively localize multiple targets with a single robot? In this case, instead of pre-computing the measurement locations beforehand, the robot needs to adaptively choose its next measurement locations. In this problem, we are given a function that measures localization uncertainty, and our goal is to dynamically compute next measurement locations for a mobile robot such that the uncertainty of the target location estimates is minimized. Here, we assume that the targets are static and there is no data association problem for the incoming signals from the targets. We focus on two relative measurement models, bearing and range measurements. In bearing measurements, the sensor acquires noisy directionality information, whereas in range measurements, the sensor receives distance observations. We model both bearing and range measurements to be the true value plus some zero mean Gaussian noise. The measurement noise is up to 30 degrees of error in bearing measurements and 3 meters in a 20 by 20 meter squared area for range measurements. We measure the localization uncertainty using what we call Bayesian histograms. These are 2D histograms where each bin corresponds to the probability of containing the target position. As the sensor gets new measurements, we aggregate them using the Bayesian update rule. An alternative is to use a closed form solution for measuring the uncertainty, such as the Fisher information using the sensor and target configuration geometry. However, this method would require the knowledge of the true target location or an estimate of it, which is usually not available. We show that by using top-down images of the Bayesian histograms as input to a convolutional neural network-based actor network, we can compute next measurement locations to localize multiple targets in the environment. Here, you see two examples for localizing two targets using bearing and range measurements on the left. And on the right, we have some examples showing our method in action to localize 8 targets in simulation. We see that most of the time our method is able to generate trajectories that enable localizing the targets with good accuracy. However, there are some failure modes where the sensor needs to acquire many measurements from the same position, which we plan to address in future work. We are also working on more challenging scenarios where the target is adversarially escaping the target tracker robot. And for such settings, we continue exploring new algorithms. Thank you so much for your attention.